Okay, all participants, welcome to the next session. And it's lunchtime already, but we hope that you guys are still on fire. I'm here with Mas Faradi Bachri. Halo, selamat siang, Mas Faradi.
Halo, siang semua.
Selamat siang. Oke, di sini masih loading untuk videonya Mas Faradi, but that's okay because I want to introduce you first to the all participants. Okay. Yeah, for this session, we're gonna talking about knowing the ways to data-driven campaigns, creativity, and innovation through ADA Indonesia. And we have Mas Faradi Bachri here, Country Director, Marketing Services, ADA at Indonesia. And yeah, a little bit introduction, yeah, about Mas Faradi. Facing challenges with passion is what Mas Faradi believes in. An expert in digital, Mas Faradi leads ADA's Indonesia operations, an all-rounder practitioner with experience across multiple facets of digital communication. Mas Faradi is known to have a flair for reviving failing businesses and turn them into success stories. Oh, luar biasa sekali. Ini dia saya sudah bisa melihat Mas Faradi. Apa kabar, Mas?
Baik, sorry the internet is a bit
Unstable
choppy.
ya? Ya, same with me. Tapi tidak apa-apa, fighting. Okay, thank you so much for being here, Mas Faradi. The screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. So today we're going to talk about data-driven campaign, where it's driven by creativity and innovation. Now, before we talk about creativity and innovation, we need to understand data itself, right? And that's where we need to understand what is Spot is as ADA, because we are a data and AI company. We are owned by Axiata, invest-based SoftBank, and we have over 800 people all across 10 countries. Now, the mission that we have is simple, actually. The promise of digital is delivering result. And is it the result of business outcome, sales, whatever it is? That's the promise of digital. But then we realize when brand come in on digital space, the story is not so true. There's many challenge to that. And when we talk about data, I think data is like the next oil, the gold mine. There's a lot of things that describe data. The biggest challenge that a lot of companies face is what should they do? Most companies have data. They have first party data, they have second party data, they have connection to third party data. But then how? Now, I think in ADA, we have our own internal data, either from telco or from IFA. We have over 375 data across the region. In Indonesia, we have 150 million. Now, the interesting part is then how do we utilize this data to deliver a business impact to our client? The data that we realize doesn't always fix, right? The way we think on how utilize data is, oh, we have segment A. If I use segment A, then it's going to fly. But in reality, that's not the case. We need to do tweak, we need to have feedback, we need to have a customization to really understand which data part actually work. Now, as the previous speaker already mentioned, I think data segment AI has been brought a lot in this conversation today. And it does so. I mean, if we think the conventional way of we targeting people is like, oh, I'm going to target an audience of male, uh, 20 to 24 years old, living in Jakarta, right? Once upon a time, that is the way we do it. But now there's many data point that, oh, there's this guy like games. Do they go to university? Do they go to a QSR restaurant? What is the frequency of that? What is the uh, behavior on their movement, location, and reading on application? All those create a different segmentation. Like a big e-commerce or a big ride hail can have 1 to almost like 300,000 to 1 million segmentation of their customer. Now the question is, when you have that huge massive of segmentation, how can you actually create right messaging for them? Because now you need to create thousands of messages for that particular audience, which is a lot. Now, and that's a lot of the challenge that we see. You have multiple channel. Should what is the right creative for our segment on Facebook, on YouTube, on video, on reading, like Bang Roy on podcasts? There's many point of that. And then how do we personalize that? Personalization has been a huge topic. Another point that we need to understand is actually how deep the personalization can take. Now, in order to do this, this is a huge, huge challenge, right? Because you need many things to do this. And right now, no human or agency in that, but are able to keep up with all this demand because the change on creative, on how you measure on return, ROI, performance, capability, and the feedback is uh, so big, right? That's why right now there's a request on how do we match this data with a highly automated creative engine to connect with that. And so all the segmentation that is being produced, automated, are matched into the right messaging. Like I think on the previous discussion, there's this discussion of the holy grail of advertising, which is you're allowed to target the right audience with the right message at the right time. But how are you able to do that when you have 1 million segment of audience to break it down? And this is where the automation engine play a big role. There's this intelligent creative platform that allow you to understand what is the segment, what is their pain point, what is the message, and what is the feedback. Is this good? Is this not good? And so the whole objective of this is when we talk about conversion funnel, each of the creative engine allow you to understand more. For example, uh, one of the case is actually bringing the funnel, for example, from, let's say, they coming from the leads, which is coming to the website, and then after the website, what is next? Why doesn't he buy? And after he or she buy, what's next? Is there any way to get them to create loyalty? If he buy the first time, can we make them buy the second time, third time, fourth time, creating cross sell, bigger product and stuff? So then the conversation become much more big, and this allow you to do that. Now, a sample of how a creative automation work is actually by understanding the segment persona you have and break it down between parameter. Now, there's a few parameter that you can put: number of location, the behavior itself, the device, the browsing history, content, and all of this put under one KPI, which is either sales or ROI. Now, after all this, you can allow on seeing a better result and what is the best performing campaign, and just keep working on that on cycle. For example, one thing that we understand is, let's say, white collar audience that work at SCBD area, for example, in Indonesia, in Jakarta, between white collar people that work in Surabaya area, have different behavior and different trigger when they want to buy or when they can push on different action. Now, this is crucial and important information because if we don't know this, then the assumption become, oh, our campaign doesn't work. Now, another interesting area is when we talk about digital adoption. Big city, Jakarta, you can run a performance campaign like, you know, it's everyone is already accustomed to that and seeing the result. But if you have run a campaign, for example, in Parepare, then you shouldn't do the acquisition campaign or performance campaign. What you should do is a basic awareness campaign where then the trigger can be measured on offline. So there's many metrics on how you put this. Now, this engine or this thought process allow you to think like you're creating a big factory to create all the creative material. Now, I know from agency or client perspective, then how do we measure quality with quantity? Basically, then the answer to that, that's the next challenge for creative. Then creative need to understand how does AI and automation work. Okay, and next one is like one of the case study that we have done, which is for a tobacco brand, where when we have received, we need to understand who's the audience itself. And from the audience itself, we are able to define there's over 32 segment that we can focus on. Now, and at the same time, we connect with the engine to create almost 200 creative, and that happened in span of single day. And when we have done this, all the result and all the campaign, we are able to measure them to sales, which is a very, I think, an important case. So then we understand that what is the concern, how do we optimize, and how do we scale this much more bigger. And all of this come into a one big feedback loop where then what is the goal? Is it on sales, on performance, on campaign? And it's just keep on feedback, the feedback loop. And then from that, we can understand, okay, if our goal is we want to reach a certain GMV or a certain sales number, where are we now? What's the gap? And how, what is the next step on improving this? Is on segmentation? Is it on creative? Is it on the contact itself? Is it on the partnership, media channel, and everything else? Until it become a output performance. I think that's it from my presentation, and I give it back to Melissa.
Mas Faradi, thank you so much for the presentations. We hope we hope all the participants got, more new perspectives ya. Terima kasih banyak Mas Faradi. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so all participants, let's move into the next session.